Hello everyone, and welcome to The Gaming Vinci Reads Some Morrowind Texts. In this series, side series of my Morrowind original, or my main Morrowind series, I'm going to be just reading books that I encounter throughout the land of Morrowind, reading them and kind of analyzing and kind of just really talking about it. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the book. Where is it? The Children of the Sky. Unfortunately, this book that I wanted is too short, so we're going to read this one. The Children of the Sky. Let's get started. Children of the Sky. Nords consider themselves to be the Children of the Sky. They call Skyrim the throat of the world, because it is where the sky exhaled on the land and formed them. They see themselves as eternal outsiders and invaders, and even when they conquer and rule another people, they feel no kinship with them. The breath and the voice are the vital essence of a Nord. When they defeat great enemies, they take their tongues as trophies. These are woven into ropes and can hold speech like an enchantment. The power of a Nord can be articulated into a shout, like the kiai of an Akaviri swordsman. The strongest of their warriors are called tongues. When the Nords attack a city, they take no siege engines or cavalry. The tongues form in a wedge in front of the gatehouse and draw in breath. When the leader lets it out in a kiai, the doors are blown in, and the axemen rush into the city. Shouts can be used to sharpen blades or to strike enemies. A common effect is the shout that knocks an enemy back, or power of command. A strong Nord can instill bravery in men with his battle cry, or stop a charging warrior with a roar. The greatest of the Nords can call to a specific people over hundreds of miles, and can move by casting a shout, appearing where it lands. The most powerful Nords cannot speak without causing destruction. They must go gagged, and communicate through a sign language and through scraping runes. The further north you go into Skyrim, the more powerful and elemental the people become. The less they require dwellings and shelter. Wind is fundamental to Skyrim and the Nords. Those that live in the far wastes always carry a wind with them. This is a very interesting piece of lore, actually. What I really love about this book is especially the myth, especially when it talks about the throat of the world. And right here, especially this passage right here, where it says, "It is because where the sky exhaled on the land and formed them." Very interesting. I really love these kinds of things in video, and honestly, not just video games, but also in life. When we have like different myths or folk tales and telling us on how things were formed. So I do think this was rather interesting. So the Children of the Sky. And it kind of makes sense, too, because in Skyrim, there is a place called the Throat of the World, which is where that mountain we talk about is, where the sky exhaled on the land and formed them. It's a very tall mountain, which is rightfully called Throat of the World. And, it kind of makes sense, too. It almost does, if you actually go to Skyrim and look at that map, the mountain that is called Throat of the World definitely does look like a breath, kind of like it starts off where the lips would be forming and blowing out onto the land of Skyrim. I'm also assuming this kind of refers to the I'm assuming this only refers to Skyrim because playing through Skyrim, I actually do remember there being a lot of wind, especially like the cold. But another thing that I found very interesting about this was in the passage here, when it says that they would take the tongues as trophies. And I definitely get that, because especially when they use this idea of breath and voice, it kind of makes sense that you want to go for the tongues. You want to conquer, because it kind of reminds me to the time of like in the Lascaux cave paintings and other cave paintings across the world. It kind of makes me think about this idea that there's a theory that says that the animals that are painted on the walls, they say one reason why that was done was for shamanistic purposes, which means if they can capture the image of the animal on the wall, they can capture the spirit of the animal when they hunt. So I really think it's that same idea. By capturing the tongue of the enemies as trophies, in a way it's like you capture their voice, something that they say is vital essence. Another thing I really did find interesting is how it kind of explains how they would attack, where they wouldn't use any siege engines or cavalry like how the Imperials use. They actually use it's almost like they use their own physical prowess. So of course, you have those who are mastered in the art of the tongue, or I guess what we call the Ki. So that ability, it kind of seems like, oh, it's all about, the Nords are more focused on physical strength. Then, if we go over here, another thing is interesting too is that the most powerful Nords, they cannot speak without causing destruction. They have to be gagged, and they have to speak through sign language, inscribing runes. This is actually very interesting because, in a way, it almost seems like those with the power of the voice, or those who have the strongest voice, kind of seems like they're the more respected ones, the leaders, I would say, in this part. And this makes me think a lot to Skyrim, where Ulfric Stormcloak, he actually used the power of the voice to defeat his enemy. So by this logic, but according to this book, this would mean that Ulfric Stormcloak would be considered a very powerful Nord. I mean, even at the beginning of the game, we see Ulfric is gagged because of this power. So it's very interesting. This book was very fascinating to read. I never heard that Nords could be known as the Children of the Sky. So this concludes the Gaming Vinci Reads, and in this case, the Gaming Vinci Reads, The Children of the Sky. Now, this was a rather fascinating read. I rather enjoyed it, and I would even say Nera enjoyed it too, for Nera is really into lore and myths. Unfortunately, this session has come to a close, and I will read with you guys next time.